In this video, we're going to be talking about income elasticity of demand. We've already looked at PED, price elasticity of demand, and the second elasticity that you need to know for Unit 2, there's only two that you're required to know. The second one is income elasticity of demand, otherwise known as YED. Now, we're going to start with a bit of an example. Imagine this was your choice of food. You've got £5 to spend on food for the day, and you can buy it from any of these items here. So if you have a look down that list, you've got to decide how you're going to spend your £5 for the day. Well, I'm sure you've probably noticed bread is only 30p, carrots are only 5p. So logically what you would do is you would buy 16 breads, loaves of bread, a couple of carrots, and you would make carrot bread. A favourite here in Croydon, it's our signature dish. You can see there, that's the bread, that's the carrot bread, everyone's favourite. Throw in some raisins, and I think that looks like a bit of cucumber. You're going to stick to the cheaper items. If you've only got £5 to spend, you're going to stick to the stuff like this: 30p, 50p, 70p, 5p carrots. You're probably not going to go and buy a steak, because that's nearly your whole day's food gone. You're probably not going to buy a pizza, because again, you don't have much money. However, let's say you double it. Let's say you've now got £10. You're now probably not going to be focusing on the cheaper items. You're going to be looking down the more expensive ones. Maybe you're going to buy yourself lamb for lunch, fish for dinner, steak for breakfast. Maybe you're going to buy yourself 50 Mars bars. Maybe you're going to buy some cake and a mango just to have on the bus on the way to school. The point is, as your income goes up, as you've got more money to spend, you're probably going to buy different items than you would do if you were poorer and you only had £5 to spend. And that's what income elasticity of demand is all about. Income elasticity of demand measures how demand for a product changes in response to a change in consumers' income. So whereas PED was what happens to demand if the price of the product changes, this is what happens to demand if your income changes. So if you get richer, do you still buy the same product? Do you buy more of it? Do you buy less of it? If you get poorer, do you buy the same products? Do you buy more of it? Do you buy less of it? That's what this is going to show us. YED, income elasticity of demand. And just like PED, there's an equation. The equation is actually pretty similar. It's percentage change in quantity demanded over percentage change in income. Now, PED must always be a negative number, but income elasticity of demand can be either positive or negative. And that's actually really important, because depending on whether it's positive or negative, that will tell us what type of product we're dealing with. We're going to have a look at normal products, and we're going to have a look at what are called inferior products, and I will get onto that in a minute. So it is very important that you remember YED can either be positive or negative. Now, just like when you do PED, you get an answer. You might get 0, you might get -1, you might get -2, you might get 5. Those numbers, that answer is very important. If the number is between 0 and +1, if the number is between -1 and +1, it's income inelastic. So any number between -1 and +1, we call that income inelastic. That means that when your income changes, demand for the product doesn't change significantly. So you still pretty much buy the same product. You still buy the same amount. I'll use the example toothbrush. Toothbrush is an income inelastic product. It doesn't matter if you're the richest person in the world or one of the poorest. You only need one toothbrush. So it doesn't matter if you're super rich, you're still only going to buy one. Your demand for toothbrush is probably only going to be one. You may hire someone to brush your teeth for you, but you still only need one toothbrush at a time. If the answer for YED is less than -1, so -2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or more than +1, so 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, we call that income elastic. But again, to reiterate the important point, it does matter if it's a minus or a plus. That's very important. That will mean two totally different types of income elasticity. So let's have a look at what that means. Well, normal goods. If you do YED, if you do the calculation, and the answer is a positive number, so if it's +2. So if demand for a good increases when your income increases, so if you want to buy more of something, the richer you get, we call that a normal good. Now, most products are normal goods. We will buy more of things the richer we get. That's normal. That's how often things work. I'll give you some examples of normal goods. Ugg boots. You may buy more Ugg boots, or demand for the Ugg boots will go up the richer you get. If you don't make much money, you probably will not be buying Ugg boots, but maybe as you get richer, you might want to buy them more. Or Premier Kebab, Croydon's #1 kebab and food eatery. You'll notice up here, being very generously been given 5 stars, Michelin star restaurant here. They do offer restaurant and takeaway, and they do offer a lovely selection of kebabs, burgers and chicken, and a free minicab service there for you as well. So both the Ugg boots and the Premier Kebab would be classified as normal goods. Clearly, you would go to Premier Kebab a lot more as you got richer, and you would maybe buy more Ugg boots as well, or at least you would have much more of a demand for them as you made more money. And vice versa. If you became poorer, if you lost your job, you probably wouldn't demand the Ugg boots. The demand for Ugg boots would go down. They're not high up on your priorities. The things that you're going to need to buy are things like electricity, pay your electricity bill, pay your mortgage, pay your water bill. Ugg boots are probably not at the top of most people's lists. So these Ugg boots and trips to fine establishments like this would go down maybe as your income fell. So those are normal goods. We've then got what are called inferior goods. Now, as I said, most products are normal goods, but there are some inferior goods as well. Inferior goods are when you do YED and you get a minus number, that is what we call an inferior good. Now, that means that demand will fall for the good as your income goes up. So the richer you get, the less you want to buy these products. So you actually only buy them when you're poor or when you're not making as much money. And as you get richer, you want to buy less of these inferior goods. So what examples could we have for that? Well, Lidl's own Freeway Cola, a still at just 35p a bottle, that is what we would classify as an inferior good. You probably are only going to buy it because it's cheap, and because maybe you can't afford to buy the more expensive Coca-Cola or Pepsi brands. I have tried Freeway Cola, and it tastes like a mixture of cough medicine and bleach. So, not the best, and this is definitely what would be classified as an inferior good. As you got richer, as your income went up, probably your demand for Freeway Cola is going to go down. Similarly, inferior good may also include living in Deptford. Here is a picture of Deptford High Street on a Sunday morning. So probably living in Deptford, demand for houses in Deptford probably goes down as people get richer. Right, let's do some more examples of products. Are they normal or are they inferior? We'll start over on this side. Poundland probably would be inferior products. So what that means is, as you became richer, you probably would go to Poundland less. So demand for Poundland would go down as people got richer. Example of this, during the recession a few years ago, back in 2008, 2009, when a lot of people lost their jobs, demand for places like Poundland and 99p stores really shot up. Demand really went up. because people were worried about spending too much money. So that would be called an inferior product. Going across, these jeans are just representing fashion in general. Clothes, fashion is a normal good. People will buy more expensive clothes as they get more money. So more income means more money. Going across again, this is a bike. I don't know why I'm explaining that, and hopefully you know what a bike looks like. Now, bikes, we have to be very careful, and this is a tip for you. You have to be very careful when you're talking about products, because bikes, there's so many different types of bike. So to say all bikes are normal products is not actually true. It depends what type of bike. If it was a cheap bike, then that would be an inferior good. If it was one of those really expensive mountain bikes that you can get for sort of £5,000, £6,000, £7,000, that's going to be a normal good, because as your income goes up, you'll demand more of that type of thing. So you've got to be very careful. Go across to buses. Now, buses are inferior products. Buses are cheap compared to other forms of transport, so therefore generally buses are inferior. As you got richer, maybe you'll be able to afford a car or a taxi or something like that, so it's an inferior product. Going down to cars, cars are very similar to bikes in that you've got to be very careful when talking about them. There's so many different types of cars. So for example, Ferrari or Lamborghini would be a normal good. As you get richer, you're probably going to demand more of that type of car, but something like a Skoda or a, I don't know, smart car, little cheap one like that, it's probably going to be an inferior good in the way that you'll buy less of that as your income goes up. Moving across to flat screen TVs, generally those are normal goods. You're going to buy bigger ones. You might have 2 or 3 in your house. If you're particularly rich, some people have them in their bathroom, in their bedroom, in the living room, in the kitchen, so even in their car. So the richer you are, the more you're going to buy, more demand for that. Steak, again, is a normal good. Steak as a meat is very expensive compared to something like lamb or just minced beef or or slightly cheaper meats. So steak is a normal good. You will buy more steak. Demand for steak will go up as your income goes up. Down to Tesco's value beans. That is definitely an inferior good. You're going to buy less of those as your income goes up. So you'll switch to more expensive beans instead. Different brands. Now, compared to buses, which were an inferior good, trains are a normal good, because trains are much more expensive than buses as a form of transport. Therefore, trains, you'll go on the train, more likely to get a train as your income goes up. Otherwise, you might have to get the mega bus or something like that. See, it's a lot cheaper if you compare, let's say, going from London to Manchester. Getting the mega bus might only cost you £10. Getting the train might cost you £60 or £70. So trains are a normal good compared to buses. Finally, I've got potatoes here. They're very inelastic. I would probably say they're just about a normal good, but you're not really going to buy that much more of a potato if you were rich or poor. If you were going to do YED, it would probably come out something like 0.1. So you might buy a tiny bit more, but really it's quite inelastic. So that is YED, and now the best thing to do is to try some exam questions and see if you can do it yourself.